It is a commanding view from atop Facebook Hill overlooking Sacred Stone Camp just north of Canonball, North Dakota. The Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota Oyate have lived and died on these lands for generations. This encampment is populated by water protectors and their allies standing together against the installation of the $3.8 billion Dakota Access Pipe Line.
It's a powerful feeling to be here. It's a great feeling to be here. But it's also sad for the reason why we've come. The Dakota Access Pipeline is a crude oil pipeline that's proposed to carry over 500,000 barrels of oil per day through the heartland of America, transporting crude oil from the Bakken oil shale all the way down to Illinois. And from there, it's going to go off to Gulf Coast, to the East Coast for consumption, for fuel refinement. And what you see here is nothing short of just the continuation of the resistance as we as indigenous peoples have been leading for over 500 years. Our enemy is fossil fuels. Our enemy is mega corporations. Our enemy is the system which promotes and perpetuates these infrastructure projects that go against our consent, that goes against our free will, goes against our sovereignty, and is a complete disregard for our rights as indigenous peoples.
This is the land of Sitting Bull. And it was from this reservation that these youth started this whole thing. They took a petition and they ran it all the way to DC. But here, this is a peaceful camp. And I heard an older American Indian movement leader say that this is way bigger than Wounded Knee. Way bigger because it was started by youth and there's no guns here.
Flags bearing the seals of federally recognized tribes line the main roadway. Supporters, native and non-native, came from across Indian country. Their protest against the pipeline is based on the concept of environmental justice.
Environmental justice really comes out of awareness that our natural world and human life are all interconnected. And so when you hurt the natural world, you're hurting humans. When you hurt the environment, you're hurting the people in a community, because we're all interconnected and you can't hurt one without hurting the other. And so environmental justice really rose out of a keen awareness and sensitivity that was interwoven with the racial justice. So it goes from Flint today to what's happening right here in Canonball.
The people here have a legal right to do what they're doing to oppose the pipeline. And they're not doing it just for these people here, because they realize that there's 10 million people downstream that are going to be affected once this thing gives out.
Solidarity among supporters was evident as a group of canoers from the Puyallup Nation and other West Coast Native nations made their way up to a boat landing.
As they're coming up in the canoe and they're paddling, they're singing and they're praying for strength and for solidarity and for peace.
At its peak, we had over 3,000 people at this camp. We have over 190 different tribal nations all express solidarity. Even tribal nations whose entire economies are based on fossil fuel extraction. That's the absurd part. You have tribes like 3 affiliated tribes, Navajo Nation, Crow Nation, all throwing support behind the Standing Rock Sioux Nation. I'm calling them out. I ain't afraid. I'm calling them out because that's the next step in this. We're here for this fight against this pipeline, but we're also here for the greater fight to transition ourselves to a more renewable, sustainable world.
I am doing what many tribes across this whole United States is doing. It's a call to action. It's a peaceful protest to bring awareness about the economic justice or lack of it that's occurring here in this Standing Rock Reservation. I think what we can learn and what the country can learn is that we as Indian people, that we will always come together to support our brothers and sisters, no matter what reservation, what tribe they're from.
Whatever we do today is going to affect everybody in the future. And we have to be mindful of what we do and who we represent. I was nervous and scared just because I don't want anybody to get hurt and I don't want us to do something that's going to affect the future.
How can you explain to others about what's going on here? Somebody who isn't even...
There's no explanation. They just have to be here to experience it themselves.
Postscript. There is an ancient Dakota prophecy that states that the world will end when a great black snake crosses the land, desecrating sacred sites and poisoning the waters. For many here, that black snake is the Dakota Access Pipe Line. For now, progress has been halted by the Army Corps of Engineers, but for how long, that remains to be seen.